The first thing viewers noticed wasn't a dramatic scene or a scripted confession. It was something much quieter. A look held a second too long. A pause that felt unscripted. A reaction that seemed to come from instinct rather than rehearsal. From the very first episodes, people began saying the same thing in different ways. This feels different. Kai and Tan Songyun weren't strangers to chemistry. Both had built reputations as actors who could connect naturally with their co-stars. But when they appeared together, the atmosphere shifted. It wasn't loud or flashy. It was subtle, controlled, almost restrained, and that restraint made it impossible to ignore. At first, fans tried to explain it away. They said it was good acting, professionalism, experience. After all, Tan Songyun is known for her emotional depth, and Kai has always been praised for his expressive eyes and physical presence. Put two skilled actors together, and of course the scenes would feel alive. But as the story progressed, that explanation started to feel incomplete. Viewers began noticing moments that didn't feel designed for the camera. Small reactions in the background. Micro-expressions that didn't serve the plot but added realism. When one spoke, the other listened, not as a character waiting for their cue, but as a person genuinely present. These weren't things that could be easily rehearsed. Behind-the-scenes clips only fueled the conversation. Off-camera, the energy didn't drop. If anything, it softened. There was ease between them. No forced laughter. No exaggerated closeness. Just comfort. The kind that comes from trust rather than performance. Crew members commented on how smoothly scenes went, how little adjustment was needed once they were in place. Fans started asking questions. Why does Kai seem calmer around Tan Songyun? Why does Tan Songyun's expression change so naturally when she looks at him? Why do their emotional scenes feel heavy even when nothing dramatic is happening? The answer fans kept circling back to was simple and unsettling. This didn't feel like acting alone. What made the connection even more compelling was contrast. Kai often plays characters marked by intensity, conflict, or emotional restraint. Tan Songyun brings warmth, resilience, and grounded realism to her roles. Together, they didn't cancel each other out, they balanced. Where one pulled back, the other anchored. Where one hesitated, the other waited. That balance showed not just in romantic moments, but in silence. Scenes where they said nothing at all became the most talked about. A shared glance, a breath held, a moment of understanding without dialogue. Fans replayed those scenes more than the dramatic ones because they felt real, almost intrusive, like watching something private. As discussions grew, viewers began comparing this pairing to others in their careers. This doesn't feel like Kai's usual intensity. This feels more grounded than Tan Songyun's past romances. It's like they're not trying to convince us. And that last point mattered. They weren't selling a fantasy. They weren't pushing a trope. They were letting the connection exist without explanation. And that honesty made it powerful. Interviews added another layer. When asked about working together, both were careful, but not distant. Kai spoke about trust, about how easy it was to react naturally. Tan Songyun mentioned feeling supported, understood in ways that allowed her to relax into scenes. Neither overpraised, neither deflected. Their words matched the energy viewers saw on screen. Calm, respectful, genuine. Fans began to wonder if this was why the pairing felt so strong. There was no attempt to create buzz. No exaggerated teasing. No playing into rumors. They let the work speak for itself. And it did. Social media filled with comments from viewers who didn't usually ship actors. People who claimed to be immune to on-screen romance admitted they were affected. Not excited in a dramatic way, but moved. Quietly. That reaction is rare. Usually, viral pairings explode fast and burn out just as quickly. This one lingered. Episode after episode, the conversation didn't fade. It deepened. Fans started using words like comforting, intimate, and realistic instead of hot or exciting. It wasn't about sparks. It was about connection. As the story unfolded, many realized they weren't watching two characters fall into a dramatic romance. They were watching two people choose understanding over chaos, presence over performance, and that made the emotions hit harder. Even moments of conflict felt different. Arguments weren't loud or exaggerated. They were controlled, painful and heavy with unspoken feeling. The kind of tension that comes from caring too much rather than too little. Viewers felt seen. They recognized this kind of connection from real life, the kind that grows quietly, that doesn't announce itself, that makes you feel safe rather than overwhelmed. And seeing that portrayed honestly on screen felt almost personal. As the final episodes approached, anticipation wasn't about plot twists anymore. It was about moments, about how they would look at each other, about what would be left unsaid. Fans weren't chasing confirmation, they were savoring authenticity. And that's why this pairing left viewers speechless. Not because it was shocking, not because it was dramatic, but because it felt true. More than a role, more than chemistry. It felt like something you don't often get to witness, two actors meeting at the right emotional frequency, creating something that doesn't need explanation to be understood. And long after the screen fades to black, that feeling stays. As the episodes continued, something unexpected happened. The audience stopped trying to label what they were seeing. At first, people debated whether this was romantic chemistry, emotional compatibility, or simply two excellent actors elevating each other. But eventually, the labels stopped mattering. What mattered was how deeply viewers were pulled in without realizing it. Many fans admitted they weren't even fans of romance-heavy dramas anymore. They clicked out of habit, out of loyalty to Sukai or Tan Songyun individually. Yet somewhere along the way, they found themselves watching scenes twice, rewinding quiet moments, lingering on expressions instead of dialogue. That's when people knew something unusual was happening. The connection didn't demand attention. It earned it. Sukai's performance, often praised for its intensity, felt softer here, not weaker, but more controlled. He wasn't pushing emotion outward. He was holding it in, letting it surface only when it mattered. That restraint made his reactions feel raw. When his character hurt, viewers felt it before he even spoke. And more often than not, it was Tan Songyun's presence that triggered those shifts. Tan Songyun, known for her warmth and relatability, showed a different kind of strength. Her character didn't overpower scenes with emotion. Instead, she grounded them. She listened. She waited. She reacted with her eyes, her posture, her silence. That subtlety gave Sukai's performance space to breathe, creating an emotional rhythm that felt natural rather than scripted. Fans began to say it felt like watching two people meet in the middle. Neither tried to dominate scenes. Neither tried to outshine the other. They moved in sync, adjusting instinctively. When one pulled back, the other softened. When tension rose, they didn't escalate, it simmered. That balance is rare, and viewers felt it even if they couldn't explain why. Online discussions shifted tone. Instead of shipping wars or loud theories, people shared personal reflections. Comments like, "This reminds me of someone I once loved," or "This is what emotional safety looks like," began appearing. Viewers weren't projecting fantasies anymore. They were recognizing reality. That's when the pairing crossed a line most dramas never reach. It stopped being entertainment alone. It became relatable. Even the drama's pacing benefited from their connection. Scenes that might have felt slow with other actors felt intentional here. Silence wasn't filler, it was communication. A shared look carried more weight than pages of dialogue. And viewers trusted those moments because Sukai and Tan Songyun didn't overplay them. Behind-the-scenes footage continued to reinforce this impression. Between takes, there was no exaggerated closeness designed for fan service. No performative teasing. Just calm conversation, mutual respect, and an ease that suggested familiarity rather than forced bonding. Crew members noted how smoothly emotional scenes went, how rarely directors had to push for more feeling. They didn't need to. The emotion was already there. As interviews continued, both actors spoke carefully but sincerely. Sukai mentioned how rare it is to feel completely present in a scene without overthinking. Tan Songyun spoke about trust, how knowing your scene partner will catch emotional shifts makes it easier to be vulnerable. Neither framed it as something extraordinary, but fans could hear the significance between the lines. What made viewers truly speechless, though, was the consistency. This connection didn't fade after a few episodes. It didn't peak early and decline. It stayed steady, mature, controlled. Even as the story introduced conflict and emotional distance, the underlying bond remained believable. Viewers trusted that the characters cared, even when they were apart. That trust is hard to earn. And perhaps that's why, by the time the story neared its conclusion, fans weren't asking whether Sukai and Tan Songyun would reunite on screen. They already felt connected. The emotional payoff wasn't dependent on a kiss, a confession, or a dramatic ending. It was already delivered in the journey. Many viewers described finishing episodes with a strange quietness, not excitement, not heartbreak, but reflection. They felt like they had witnessed something honest, something restrained, something that respected their intelligence and emotional experience. And long after the final scenes, the pairing continued to linger in conversations, not as a rumor, not as a fantasy, but as an example. An example of what happens when two actors don't try to manufacture magic, but simply allow it to exist. More than a role, indeed. Sukai and Tan Songyun didn't leave viewers speechless by shocking them. They did it by reminding people what genuine connection looks like when it's handled with care. And that kind of impact doesn't fade quickly. It stays, quietly, steadily, just like the bond that created it.